So the reality is that people test stuff they see on YouTube. And as a coach, this frustrates me because I want to make sure that you do it right. But this morning I realized, what if I took a different approach? And if I tried to make a starting protocol and see if I could actually coach you through it and communicate via comments with you right here. That way you can test the system for yourself, see if you like it, see if you want to apply it to your whole body or not. And in the process, try to give people a lot of results. So what I came up with is 5 minutes of reverse out knee pain, followed by 2 sets of 25 tibialis raises with a full break in between, and then finishing with 25 ATG split squats. Now, if you're gonna try that, give me the opportunity, at least right now, to coach you through this. ROKP basically means going backwards. This is the lowest level of knees over toes training. And we apply that sort of as a cardiovascular method. If you had no resistance or anything, you could just go for a 10-minute walk backwards. The distance of the step would determine the difficulty. You would only step whatever's absolutely comfortable with no knee pain. Now, what we really want to do if we're going to be doing tasks in life beyond just walking is start applying some resistance to that. The lowest level of doing that, most common, is going to be going into any commercial gym with a treadmill, not turning it on, sticking your butt against the handle, and then actually having to spin the belt. So now you're getting resistance right there. In this case, you'd set a 5-minute timer. And then in more sporting gyms, or you could actually get for home for very cheap, would be a drag sled. Now, instead of thinking of this as a maximum effort thing, which is awesome, but we're thinking of it as cardio to bring blood and nutrients to our knees, you would use an amount of weight that you can still step with your knees over your toes, rather than an amount that you just use your body weight. You can actually see it in your toes, how much you're stepping. Are you stepping like that, or are you actually on your toes and really pushing there and using your knees? So there's not pressure on it. You don't work through pain to achieve those positions. The more you do it, it seems to be easier to achieve those positions. So those are the 2 most common ways to add resistance, would be the dead mill or backward sled. Now, when you try this, in order to get this coaching process going, I want you to comment ROKP and put a fire emoji if you feel a burn with no knee pain. Now, if you don't achieve that, well then write in whatever you're experiencing and I'll see if I can troubleshoot that for you. That's what I do for members online. It's a process. You do it, we see if you get the expected result. If not, we troubleshoot it. After our ROKP, we're going right to the wall, but only against the wall. Now here, we're not gonna move the legs. We're now training the muscle that starts, you can see, under the kneecap, but it actually wraps around to the inside of the shin and even to the inside of the arch here. This muscle is the primary decelerator of our foot. So it's basically like the first line of defense against foot, ankle, shin, and knee pain. And with just a wall, we can flex up and do 25 reps. But if you get to where you can't get your toes up, you just back up closer. If it's too easy, you go farther. This alone should create that pain-free burn we're looking for. Now I said 2 sets, right? So while you're taking your recovery, doesn't matter how long it is, whatever you feel like you need to do the second set, go ahead and comment in, did you get a burn without pain? In this case, put TIBS with a fire emoji. There's also loading devices for this. So if you're really serious, you could look into getting one of those. I linked my equipment list in the description. I actually don't make any of those products, but they're wonderful. And it's unlikely between wall and loaded that anyone in the world over the last 4 years has done as many sets to tap out for the tibialis. My lower body feels years younger for it. I can now in these barefoot shoes go do full intense dunk sessions without feeling anything in my feet after, even though I used to have chronic foot, ankle, shin, knee pain. Now the final step in your session is going to be my all-time favorite exercise, this ass to grass split squat. This exercise receives more form coaching than any other exercise in my program. And that's because the average person needs to start elevated about a foot because those back hip flexors are too tight, while also elevating the front heel with a plate or a doorstop because the ankle's too tight, while also having a PVC pipe in the offhand to assist balance and strength so that the front knee is not in pain to get into this position. And most people have to start with 5 sets of 5 on each side, then progressing to 3 sets of 8 on each side, then progressing to 2 sets of 12 on each side, and eventually trying to do 25 straight. Now, despite all that, a lot of people will still screw it up. And I know this for a fact because I was one of those people. I had to start with all those regressions, and I paid my mentors thousands of dollars to coach my form that I thought was perfect, even though it was actually far from perfect. So when I decided to make an online program, it was based on a simple thing of trying to make it more affordable than it had ever been to actually have your form coached. Now, let me at least make my case. Now I'm gonna finish by making the case for the longer, more patient route. When we take a joint and we start limiting it because it's in pain, that totally makes sense. Avoid what's painful, right? But we also shut down the production of synovial fluid, which goes to the joint to lubricate it and bring nutrients to the joint. So when we stop using the joint, our body assumes we're no longer using the joint, and it actually degrades faster. Now, in today's world, that is very easy to understand why someone made that conclusion. It's an entitled, instant gratification world, but that's not how our knees work. Our muscles actually recover the fastest, but our tendons, the things that are usually in pain, those take longer to recover, but they can grow than our muscles. And then our ligaments inside the ACL, the ones that we blow out, those take even longer than the tendons to recover, but they too can grow. So you see, with a long-term viewpoint, we actually have reason to be super optimistic. When I started my knees over toes journey, I had already gone through a partially artificial kneecap. I was told this knee would never fully bend, a quad tendon repair, and a meniscus transplant. And my right knee was even worse because it had more diagnosed tears that I was supposed to have surgery for. So at the time, I couldn't even do a double-legged squat, let alone this fully ass to grass split squat without those regressions. But now at 30 years old, because of putting in that patient route, I can now do this stuff, and now I can squat and dunk from that position, even though I had never grabbed rim at the time I started my knees over toes journey. So understand that you can make this work, or not, based on understanding those long-term principles of how our knees develop, and never working through pain in the process. So if you are able, using any of those regressions, to get into this and get those 25 reps in on each side without pain, go ahead and comment a knee emoji with a money symbol, because you just put money in the bank. An ounce of prevention could be worth a pound of cure. If not, write in why. I'll definitely do my best to help out. I hope this helps a lot of people along the way and helps make it easy for you to decide if you want to apply this stuff to your whole body or not.